I'm Dr. Ange Mack. Welcome to Your Health, It's Personal. This program is dedicated to helping the community understand the benefits of integrative medicine and whole person health care, to include complementary therapies and self-care so you can live your best life. Today we have with us a yoga instructor, Kelley Gallop, and we're going to be talking about yoga as medicine and how to pick the right yoga for you. Welcome, Kelley. Thank you for being on my show today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So yoga has been around for how many years, you think?
The most ancient text, about 5,000 years.
About 5,000 years.
What we know of as yoga in modern society, about 200 years. Because it's mostly a posture-based practice in Western society. So that's that type of yoga really came into being and got solidified starting about 200 years ago.
About 200 years ago. So it's not a new therapy. It's not a new practice. It's something that's been around quite a while then.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So the different methods and types of yoga have been around for thousands of years, and then it's just been refined over time. And
there are many different types and many different kinds, as we've discussed in the past. How did you first get involved with yoga? What was your draw to it initially?
Originally, my draw to it was when I was a little kid, and I would watch Lilith on PBS.
What's that?
Lilith. She was a lady that had a yoga class on PBS, and she came on either right before or right after Mr. Rogers.
Oh, fun. Okay.
And so I would watch both of them, and then my mom was also into transcendental meditation, so it was kind of always there in the background, but I didn't get really serious about yoga until my mid-20s. I dabbled with it off and on until about that time, and then I injured my hip, and my mother recommended that, why don't you try yoga more seriously? And so that's how I became a dedicated yoga student.
So she wanted you to do yoga to help your hip heal.
Yeah,
and to get all that in balance. So smart mom.
Yeah, well, she is.
Very good, very good. And now you're studying. You're not just a practitioner. You're a student of yoga and the master's program. Tell me a little bit about your study and what that is.
So I started out about 7 years ago and became a yoga instructor. And so there's different levels within the yoga instructor world for registration, and you register with Yoga Alliance, and that's the main governing body. And then I decided I also wanted to go into yoga therapy. So now I'm in the Master's of Science program at Maryland University of Integrative Health in Laurel, Maryland.
And this is the first Masters of Science in Yoga Therapy in the nation.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct, yeah.
And you're leading the way in learning this.
Yeah, we're the 8th group to go through, the 8th year that they've had the program.
Okay, so yoga, when someone's looking to find a yoga program, there are levels of certification with this. So people should probably be aware of what to look for, what to start with.
Exactly. So I would start with going to Yoga Alliance webpage, and you can find registered yoga teachers there on their webpage. All the studios here in Prince William County have Yoga Alliance registered teachers. So if you go to any of the studios here, and most of the rec centers here in this area and gyms, you'll be good.
So Yoga Alliance is a credentialing body.
Correct.
And so you have to meet certain requirements and credentials to be under that certification program.
Exactly. And then in addition to that, if you want to go to a yoga therapist, then you would go to the International Association of Yoga Therapy webpage, and they have a list of registered yoga therapists.
Okay, so what's the difference in just going and doing yoga and then going to a yoga therapist? When would a person just go do yoga on their own compared to seeking out a yoga therapist?
So a yoga teacher would teach you yogic techniques. So in the United States, most of the classes that you're going to participate in are hatha yoga.
Okay.
So it can take the form of restorative yoga. It can take the form of hot yoga. Vinyasa flow classes they're all hatha. They're all based in hatha yoga. Just different schools of thought and different methodologies. So that's what a yoga teacher does. If you want to go to a yoga therapist actually designs a plan of care specifically for you
for you, your body
type, your condition. Say if you're coming,
potential injury.
Exactly, exactly. So if you're having problems, say with arthritis, they would design a plan of care specific to you, the type of arthritis that you have, and your range of motion, your mobility, etc.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I remember I did a couple restorative yoga classes, and I didn't know what I was getting into, but it sounded nice. And literally, I went into a yoga class, and I laid down on the mat, and we just laid there, and we breathed. And I think I rolled over maybe once or twice, and I'm like, I can do this yoga all day long. So there's like different extremes. There's restorative all the way to like Bikram hot 90 minutes and the dying heat type yoga, and then there's everything in between.
Exactly. So there is a type of yoga for every person, every body type, every gender, every level of mobility. I teach a class currently where I have students that are teenagers all the way up to 81 years old.
Okay.
So we have the entire range of mobility in that class. My 81-year-old student does part of the class in a chair.
Perfect.
So there's all different ways to modify a practice for somebody.
Which is great because you can be at any level of health, any age, and you can still do some form of yoga.
Exactly.
And with regards to the yoga therapy, I know we mentioned the biopsychosocial model of care and also, differences in how you analyze a person. Tell me a little bit about how those models and analysis come into play as a yoga therapist.
So within yoga therapy, what we do is we use a model within yogic philosophy called the koshas. And so that is an analysis of the 5 levels within a person. So that's the physical level, energetic level, the level of mental instincts, mental discernment would be the 4th level, and then bliss.
Nice, that's a good one.
And so we take that information and then we apply it to the biopsychosocial model so that our plan of care complements any kind of plan of care you've been given by a medical provider. And so we try to go hand in hand with the medical community in the way that we develop our plan of care.
So my big background is integrative medicine and whole person care, and I work with physicians, allopathic traditional medicine physicians. One of my roles is trying to get them to understand more on interdisciplinary work with outside complementary therapists, like someone who would do yoga therapy or acupuncture or health coaching and nutrition. And I think there are obstacles there because the physician, they don't know exactly when they would call upon a yoga therapist. What would be some things that you would let a physician know if they had a patient that could potentially use, your services and your care?
I would tell a physician that whatever condition that they're treating, that they can refer them to a yoga therapist, and that our methodology will complement the care that they're giving, and then that will walk hand in hand with them through the treatment, as well as yoga therapists also refer clients out to traditional physicians, whether it's a psychotherapist or other mental health providers, as well as general care practitioners.
So a physician could essentially coordinate care with you for a variety of different conditions to include maybe cardiovascular issues, diabetes. What about cancers? I hear there's evidence back and forth on should someone do additional outside therapies outside of their oncology, their cancer treatment. Is this good, or will this just exacerbate, the cancer that's going on?
Right. So yeah, you can do yoga therapy as a cancer patient. So a lot of what we would do in yoga therapy is, because there's a lot of stress and a lot of other mental health issues that go along with cancer treatment, whether it's depression or anxiety. So along with the if they're going through chemo or they're going through radiation or if they've just had surgery, we as yoga therapists can also help in providing methods, whether it's through physical practices or meditative practices.
Yeah, I can see how the meditation would be nice in yoga.
To help with stress levels, anxiety levels.
I think that would be great just for the family, not just the cancer patient, but the family, like have family group sessions. Because as we know, if one of your family members is sick, especially if it's a mom or a dad or a sister or brother, it would help the whole family to de-stress and come together, in this situation and stay healed and balanced and healthy.
Yes, and not only have there been studies with cancer patients, but there's also been studies with caregivers in yoga therapy. So,
and what do those studies say?
That it's beneficial. That it definitely helps with levels of stress, levels of anxiety. It helps them get out of the house, get them out of dealing with the person that they're caring for, and take a little bit of time to care for themselves.
Self-care is so important, especially in the veteran world, my other world that I work in, caregiving, and a lot of times it's a spouse as well of an aging couple or of someone that has a health condition that you have to be there almost 24/7, and getting them to bring on respite and so they can get out and do some yoga for themselves or get out and go for a walk. It's so critical for these people to help themselves, and it's kind of like, it reminds me of back in my mom days too, when I was talking with other moms. It's like we wouldn't take the time to take care of ourselves, but we were doing 24/7 for our kids and our husband and all of these things. It is just, it's critical to do the self-care piece first. And I know it sounds selfish sometimes, but if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we best take care of our loved ones and those around us?
Yes.
And you said your mom, when you hurt your hip, you injured your hip, she was the one who came and said, hey, why don't you try yoga? What did you try, and how did that help you?
Well, I went into, because up until that point I had gone to yoga classes in gyms, I had done videos. It wasn't anything
like structured.
Structured, exactly. And so I decided I'm just going to walk into a studio, and I happened to walk into one that whatever time that the class was, I didn't even know. Didn't know what I was walking into. Right, exactly. Didn't know how hard it was going to be or anything like that.
That's brave.
And started there, and just kept going since then.
What did you think when you were doing that first program and your hip was healing, in the process of healing? What did you think when you were doing that first one? Did you think, okay, this is going to help me, or this may take some time? What was kind of going through your head?
I thought it was probably going to take some time. I know that one of the things with yoga in general, it's not a quick fix. Right. It's not a one and done kind of methodology. So I knew that it was going to take time, and that it was giving me the tools to start like the self-healing process.
Sure. So you were able to take the time for yourself, let the healing, begin, and kind of nurture and support that through. I believe one of our biggest downfalls, especially here in America, is like we're always looking for that quick fix.
Yes.
It's like, what can I do so I can get back out there and maintain that same high-speed momentum and not stop and slow down? And many of these complementary therapies and self-care therapies, they take time, because it's taken yourself a while probably to get in the state of illness or injury or whatever imbalance that you're in.
Exactly.
So you should allow enough time to heal and take care of yourself and do these therapies and allow them to work.
Exactly.
Have you had experiences with people who have tried to just like, okay, I want to see you for 3 sessions,
and
then I want to be. What's your experience with that?
You try to explain to them that it doesn't. Yoga doesn't really work that way. Probably the typical lifespan of a yoga student is no more than 5 years.
What do you
mean? Then we get
turnover.
They die. They'll do yoga for 5 years, and then they go find something
something else.
Something else.
So they don't die. They just
find another. Right. So they go to CrossFit, or they go to
mix it up.
Pilates or whatever. So they'll stick with yoga for about 5 years, and then they'll go on to the next health craze, so to speak. Next trend. But you'll get sometimes you'll get yoga students that they'll come 1 or 2 times, and then by like the 3rd class, they like, well, my knees aren't better, and it's like, it's going to take time. It took time to get your knees in the state that they're in now, so it's going to take time to
get
reverse
them
the
better.
effects.
And do you like guide them with nutrition or coordinate like a nutritional counseling? Because it all goes hand in hand.
It does go hand in hand. So usually if people stick with yoga and they become regular yoga students, there's lifestyle changes that just kind of naturally take place. So they just start taking better care of themselves and looking at their own nutrition on their own. As a yoga teacher, I can't give you nutritional advice, but I can recommend people that are nutritionists, and if you're interested in like Ayurveda techniques, I can recommend you to an Ayurveda specialist, which is the sister science.
So you are an integrative healthcare provider in that you do the yoga, but then you also coordinate care with other specialists and certified and licensed providers, depending on what's going on. And I think that's great because some people may just think they want a little yoga and not even realize, well, I can improve myself in these other areas too, but I just need some expert guidance and health, support going forward. Yeah. Well, that's fabulous. I didn't know that about you, so that's a great thing to know going forward for sure. Yeah. And you teach locally? Yes. You personally teach locally. Tell me about the program you teach.
So I'm an independent contractor. So my business is Boundless Bliss Yoga. So
what is it?
Boundless Bliss.
Boundless Bliss.
Yoga. Right. And so I work for other studios as an independent contractor. I also work out of my own home. I have a small studio space in my home where I can take private clients as well. So it can be an individual or it can be a group.
Sure.
I also will go to your house for individual and group sessions.
So if it's someone who can't get out of the home.
Exactly.
Then you could go and you can help them inside the home.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, which with my other work with Nova Veterans, we have a lot of homebound and elderly veterans and health challenged veterans, and I could see this as just an incredible therapy on multiple levels, not just the stretching and the mind body, but the socialization too,
right?
Which is always critical. And you also you're in the Nokesville area. You teach a class in Nokesville.
Yes, I teach a free class
one tonight.
Yeah, I teach one tonight,
which will be like past the time after this is aired.
Right.
Do you teach it monthly or what's?
Yeah,
is that
I teach it weekly.
Okay.
It's at the Nokesville United Methodist Church. So I've been there teaching a free class for them since the fall.
And so what day a week is it?
It's on Wednesday nights.
So Wednesday nights at what time?
7 o'clock.
At the Nokesville Methodist Church.
It's on Aiden Road.
On Aiden Road. All right. Well, that's not far. I think I ride my bike by there. So, all right. So we will make note of that too, so people know how to come out and get associated with your kind of yoga. And what kind of yoga? So if you've never done any yoga, would this be a good place to start, like at Nokesville working with you? Yeah,
it's a beginner's class. So that's kind of my specialty is beginners and adaptive yoga.
Okay.
So we use all kinds of different props, blocks, straps, bolsters, blankets, anything that we need to do.
What does that mean exactly, adaptive? Does that mean people in wheelchairs, people with limited mobility, people you adapt for anything?
Yeah. I've worked with amputees before. I've worked with veterans that bring in service dogs, so the service dog is there in the class. So in any kind of mobility issues, you could paralysis or just wheelchair bound in general, like if you're elderly. I've worked with that. So it's the full range.
That sounds like a great place to start then, for sure, going forward. There's near the end of this program, I always like to encourage our viewers to see for themselves what this yoga is about and the research behind it. Where would you have someone go to see for themselves and do the research and understand not just that there's health benefits, but there's evidence-based research that shows the health benefits for the various types of yoga and programs out there?
I would recommend going to NIH's National Center of Complementary and Integrative Medicine website. They have a ton of information about yoga and the benefits of yoga, and if you type in their search engine on their webpage, you just type in yoga and say, incontinence or yoga and heart disease.
And it'll pull you to all of that information, all the research.
Yes.
I think that's fabulous, and I think it's really important for us to, of course, listen and get educated, through these interviews and conversations, but also know that there are resources out there that shows that this is not just stretching and chanting and meditating, that there are many levels of yoga and many ways it can help you. So going and finding the research and finding the type of yoga that will work best for you.
Yes.
And with regards again to the Yoga Alliance, there's the yogaalliance.com. Is that the link?
It's .org.
.org.
And there's the International Association of Yoga Therapists.org.
International Association for Yoga Therapists.org. So if someone was to go and look for a therapist or a program near them, they could search that.
Exactly.
All right. And what would you like to leave us with today with regards to just personally what you feel about yoga and what it's done for you, and now as an instructor, and why you're passionate about, bringing this to the community like you're doing?
I think yoga is beneficial to all people because it is a complete mind-body practice. I know that one of the goals for yoga teachers and yoga therapists is to create more well-being for an individual. And I think that through a dedicated yoga practice that you can get there.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I'm one of those, I'm like going on 12 years of yoga, like almost weekly.
Yeah.
And I know it helps me and my well-being and my overall balance. And I can feel it when I can't get to yoga and make that part of my, my fitness and wellness plan. But Kelley, thank you so much for being with us today. This was wonderful. Thanks for sharing this information and how people can get involved with yoga, even if you've never done it before. So I encourage anyone, if you haven't tried yoga, it's a great place to start. And if you want to work yoga into a walking routine and others, I think physical activity is one of the best things you can do for yourself. Thank you for joining me here today, and until next time, enjoy your best life.